Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from
your company name here.
Studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast.
What's up? What's up? OG5. I'm still a little louder than the rest of it. I'm going to turn my microphone down, but what's going on? Happy New Year.
Yeah, you're spiking there.
We're spiking there, little fellas. We're getting little speakly spikes. But what's up, Morgan? What's up there? Mike? Yeah, that's your name, Mike.
It's Mike, no use for a last name. You know this.
Yes. What's going on, fellas?
Yes. Oh, you know.
A little bit of this, some of that.
It's just a Wednesday. It's just a Wednesday.
Yeah, but it's closer to Friday.
Day. It's hump day, but it's just a Wednesday. Mr. Molo, you were here. Are you still here?
No, I am not. I'm back in the hole.
Did you get those sensors put on?
Saddle again.
No, that's probably going to be a weekend job. That'll probably happen Sunday.
Believe it or not, those things are a little trickier to get out than you think. So use a small flat blade screwdriver to pull them out. They're easy to go in, but they're a little difficult to get out.
Gotcha.
I saw what you sent. Is that coil packs?
No, those are wheel hub speed sensors for the Volkswagen. Because as we discussed in the past, when they go bad, it makes every goddamn light on your dashboard turn on, including it just makes your car go crazy.
Volkswagen.
And you get them on Amazon for like $30 for 4 of them. And it literally, the hardest part of doing it, it takes more time to jack up your car and take your damn tire off than it does to pull the stupid thing off. Right. It's bolted in the back of your hub. So that easy.
Yeah, I paid $18 for 4 of them.
Yeah.
Did you go Rock Auto route? eBay?
Nah, I did
Amazon.com.
Amazon. Yeah.
Rock Auto is not a sponsor.
They could be.
But they could very well be.
I wish they were.
I'm not going to lie. I've gotten some decent stuff from rockauto.com for a reasonable price.
And plus they give you the dope refrigerator magnets too.
Do they?
Or toolbox magnets.
Now, this is probably before Mike's day. Morgan, I don't know if this was a Midwestern chain, if it was a national chain. I vaguely remember going out to an auto parts store when I was younger, and their logo was the diagonally, but it was the yellow line. It was like 2 yellow lines. I can't remember what the hell it was. Oh,
was it? That's not Napa.
No, it wasn't Napa. It was some other chain, but it was like one long yellow line and like had like the passing lane lines. But that's another thing that's gone by the wayside. We have auto parts stores, but you don't see high school dudes hanging out in auto parts stores like you did in the 80s and 90s, right? You know, we don't have the gearheads. They're dreaming over that new carburetor they're saving up money for, the new intake manifold, and they're sitting there gawking and dreaming. Because that was a thing, right, Morgan? When you couldn't afford something, you would go to the store and just stare at it and daydream and manifest it to happen. It didn't matter if it was a Mongoose bicycle at the bike shop, the Powell Pro, the Steve Caballero new deck that came out that you're dreaming about. There's a lot of time spent at hardware stores, skateboard shops, music stores, hobby shops, just dreaming about shit that you couldn't afford.
Parts Plus?
Yeah.
Probably.
Or Auto Parts Plus? They weren't yellow. They weren't yellow. It was yellow and red.
But it's kind of diagonal.
Yeah. Well, it's actually not even really diagonal. They're horizontal.
No, I remember this was on the side of the building, but it could have been a regional place. But yeah. A lot of time in hardware auto parts stores looking at head units and like cheap speakers because you couldn't afford the Sherwin Vegas and the block pumps. Or
you couldn't afford to go to the actual, sound, the stereo shop because that was legit.
But to be fair,
Stereo City.
Yeah, but you weren't quite white trash because it wasn't a Walmart. You had Walmart, the auto parts store, and then the professional place.
Shit, all my fucking shit.
Yeah, it wasn't
Walmart, dog.
Was it Craco?
I don't know if they're still in business, but don't matter because this was 20 some odd, 30, almost 30 years ago. We had this high-end head unit place called Hammond Audio, and people would go, they would sold nothing but car audio equipment. And people started noticing as they were surfacing the South Columbus area that people were buying new head units, and within 2 to 3 weeks, their cars were getting robbed. And
Yeah, we had a
some
place like that in Portland too.
and some astute gentleman figured out, wait a minute, when we come in here, these assholes ask us for our addresses.
Mhm.
And so the installers were installing the shit, waiting 3 weeks, driving your house in the middle of the night. And since they installed it, they know how to get it out quickly without damaging it, stealing the shit back and then selling it again. It was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Shit bags.
Dude, damn shit bags.
My favorite thing was I always liked like trying to fabricate stuff
Mm-hmm.
and just, the thing that I always thought was cool was like when I was in like high school, I think, or just before high school, I built a computer on a wall on a pegboard. So
Gotcha.
I took everything out of the case and I built a platform for um, the CD-ROM. I even had a floppy
Now,
drive
was
on
this
it.
during the
Like,
IDE? Yeah, so this was during the IDE cable days, not
yeah,
the. But
yeah.
did you have the gaming IDE cable where it was folded in the nice little rubber tube, or was it the big white?
No, no. It was this. This was a spare parts computer.
Well, at some point, someone realized that on gaming computers, even though they had like 25, a 1 gig video card at the
Yeah,
time, but they realized that all those ribbon cables blocked airflow. And so
yeah,
the high-end gaming ones would do is they would take the ribbon cable and put it inside a red or blue tube, and
yeah.
that way you're minimizing your airflow restriction.
No, it certainly wasn't anything like that. All the ribbon cables were still flat. They were still all attached and all that. But even, doing the computers and stuff, but with car audio and whatnot, I took a, I still have one right now. I took it's just a Bluetooth head unit because
Hmm.
they still make CD units, but
Those
I'm sure
bastards, they
nobody's
got.
buying them anymore.
Could you imagine the glory day? Could you imagine, Morgan, having a amplifier that connected with Bluetooth so you didn't have to run RCA cables underneath your goddamn carpet and on the back of your dashboard?
Hey, I'm thinking about buying
I want one
one.
because I got that speaker you gave me.
I know.
But
I got
actually,
that 15 sitting in my
there's a company called Taco
garage.
Tunes and they recreate
Yeah,
the factory because I had the factory amp, but I don't have the high end Tundra with the subwoofer.
yeah,
But they make a replacement that factory harness goes in the same spot, but it has the standard subwoofer output. So I can use
yeah,
that sub that you gave me.
right.
And then speaking of designing shit, I have those plastic storage units underneath my seat that split. I want to take one side out, use that measurement, and make that into a box, and then put the speaker from your box in there.
Hmm.
But speaking of which, that was the component that I was searched for at auto parts stores because
Yeah,
I had my '91 single cab S10 back then. And there was about a 6 year span in time where the bazooka tube was all the rage when
Oh yeah.
you didn't have any back seat space and you could buy 8-inch low end cheapo Chinese bazooka tubes at the auto parts store. And, they already had the built-in amplifiers. And so all you had to do was run power and speaker to it. And I had one of those in my S10. And it was funny. I was listening to Pantera the other day on Pandora, and Pantera has a very specific sound because of the effects pedal that Dimebag Darrell would use on his guitar. You knew that crunchy sound was Pantera. But I didn't like Pantera in high school because that crunchy sound sounded like shit coming through a bazooka tube in the back of my S10, bouncing off all that aluminum.
yeah,
Pan- Deftones sounded great. Korn sounded fucking fantastic. Pantera sounded like shit because they came from the hairband days. Have you seen your early photos of Pantera when they were a hairband?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can hear it in Phil Anselmo's scream every once in a while. He pulls out that early '80s hairband scream. You can hear it pop up every once in a while, which kind of goes into a little segment we're going to do for today. I I've been encapsulating myself into music at the office so I don't have to hear what's going on and I can just mind my own business and be happy. And so I've been going back and listening to albums from high school because Fun fact, you guys may not know this. So Spotify on your phone, it plays on random, right? You can't listen to a full album unless you paid for it on your phone. It rotates the songs and throws in a random track. The PC version, you can play the whole album song for song. It does not randomize them and it does not put in a random song of like music. Only the app does that. And so you can listen to Pink Floyd The Wall, track for track, all the way through in consecutive order. Doesn't matter. Listen to whatever you want. And so I was listening to Nine Inch Nails' Pretty Hate Machine today. I think if you ask anybody to pick a 90s a album that would represent or a group that would represent 90s music, rock music or heavy metal, some people might call it, one might say Nine Inch Nails. Am I wrong on that?
For the 90s?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean,
Guess it depends on the music you're into.
yeah, I'd say so because to be honest with you, I mean, new metal was all the craze from, the mid to late 90s.
Well, Downward Spiral came out in 1997. That's when it had Hurt on You, had Fuck You Like an Animal, and all the ones they
Right,
started playing on MTV.
right.
Interestingly enough, not that they agreed with it, but you know what? Nine Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy, Ministry, you know what sound category they were considered when they were still underground and they weren't on the radio or MTV yet?
Industrial.
Yep. It wasn't until they went mainstream that they got put into the quote unquote alternative category. They're called
Yeah,
industrial,
yeah.
which the lead singer of Ministry, I said, I don't know why they call it. It's not like I'm in there banging fucking two by fours with a hammer, but that's what it sounded like. A
Well,
lot of stuff.
but yeah, I mean, Nine Inch Nails was very heavy on like the Moog synthesizers,
And you
synthesizers and
could,
stuff like that.
and it did sound like, someone with a grinder in some of the songs.
Yeah.
What year do you think Pretty Hate Machine came out? That was their
Oh,
technically second album.
1991.
Morgan.
Uh, I'm an old guy, so I don't know, but I'm going to say 94.
And I would tend to agree with you. I started listening to Nine Inch Nails, Broken, and Pretty
Eight,
Hate Machine and Fix, which was the remake of Broken,
1989.
in around 1994, 95.
No, back in Notch 6.
Well, Mike said it jokingly. That album came out in 1989.
1989.
No one would ever consider Nine Inch Nails to be an 80s band.
Yeah.
And the fact that people were still buying that CD and playing it as it just came out, like it was a new release in 1999, tells you something about how far ahead of its time that album was.
Yeah, it was very advanced.
People don't think of the Nine Inch Nails as an 80s band. And you can say, well, technically 89 is almost if he recorded it in 89, he started writing that shit in 87, 88, right? So it's technically an 80s band. So that made me question, well, what other albums came out in 89 that had such longevity that people wouldn't consider an 80s band? And I have everything, everything that came out in 1989. I don't know. I haven't really put much thought in how we'd do this, but here's the categories.
To be considered more of a 90s band
Well,
or
just
more
albums that
popular
you
in the
would
90s.
be, well, very similar. Something that you were probably listening to the 90s or maybe the early 2000s that someone asked you, when did I'm, oh, 92, 93. You'd be shocked to find out it came out in 89.
Well,
Or,
and interesting enough too, like I used to hear um what's the most popular fucking
well, it's probably on the
Nine
list.
Inch Nails song?
Nine Inch Nails song would have been
Yeah.
Hurt, which Johnny Cash covered,
No,
or
no, no, no. The Four on the Floor song. That one.
You Make Me Violate You.
Yes, that one.
Help me, I broke apart my inside.
I forget the freaking.
I
It's on
will.
Downward Spiral.
Yeah, it's the chorus. I want to fuck you like an animal, but I can't remember the name
Yes,
of the actual song.
but that song was being played on the radio regularly, between the 99, like 98, 99, and like probably 2004, 2005. I remember listening to it on 99X when I
But the
was,
thing is, that is with the exception of Hurt, which they never even played Hurt until Johnny Cash covered it.
right.
That was
A
the
lot of
actual
people didn't even
only
know that
Nine Inch Nails
existed.
song that they played on the radio.
Right.
So
Right.
out of like up until that point, out of 5 albums, they played one song on the radio because it's the only
Right.
thing they could play really.
Right.
But maybe
Well,
even
yeah,
more to
because a lot of his songs are very like,
Mhm.
yes.
Like such classic songs as Happiness and Slavery.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or Pig.
yeah,
Hey, Pig.
yeah. Or
I'm
more
pretty
to
sure
the
didn't they I think they wrote that whole album in the Tate LaBianca house or something like
it
that.
wouldn't surprise me.
Because and I think that's where he got the inspiration was because I think he bought the door or something like that
Mhm.
that the Manson family put,
Was it him or
wrote
Marilyn
pig
Manson
on
who
the
bought
door
it?
or whatever.
Was it him or Marilyn Manson? I can't remember.
I thought it was him. I thought it was Trent Reznor.
Fun fact, because I was into all this stuff. If you go back and watch, it may have been there was a home video Trent Reznor put out,
Yeah.
and I think it was when he was recording Broken or probably Downward Spiral. It was one that came out in the 90s because the video clearly wasn't from '89, but it has a unknown Marilyn Manson in it in the recording booth. No makeup, just Brian sitting in the recording booth singing backups on one of the songs.
Really?
No makeup, no, just long black hair, just singing.
No shit.
Well, maybe more to the point, these are albums that you would be either surprised came out in '89 or had the same longevity that new kids were being introduced to it in the '90s and 2000s who thought, oh, this CD is 4 or 5 years old, not 8,
Right.
9, 12 years old.
Right.
So here are our categories. We have rock, alternative, industrial, and punk metal, hip hop slash rap, pop and mainstream, R&B, soul and funk, and electronic, new wave and dance, jazz, classical and instrumental, soundtracks and scores, international alternative cult classics, and that's it.
Okay.
What what category would you fall into, Morgan, since '89 was your time?
Oh, I'd just have to say probably rap and hip hop.
What name an album that you remember listening to around in the '90s?
Um, well, I know Public Enemy. Which one was it? Nation of Millions takes a nation of millions to hold us back.
And you nailed it exactly on the head. 1989, Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. That is the exact year that it came out. What songs were on there that we would know?
Bring the Noise. Um,
Was that the original
uh,
or was that the Anthrax remake?
I think it might have actually had both.
Well, let me
But Fight the Power.
On the same album.
um just so you don't have to hear me type, Mike, Google what year did Anthrax Attack of the Killer Bees come out? Because I believe that's one that had Bring the Noise on it. Um, yeah, I know that was probably '94, so that would have been a couple years later. I was
1991.
'91, so that was only 2 years later. So that makes sense. And that album was them saying "fuck you" to Al Gore's wife because Tipper Gore and the AMRC are the ones who invented the parent advisory
Parental
decal.
advisory.
Yep,
Which
And
probably did
and
more to sell albums
it did.
than anything else.
and
It
all of
did.
Any
the Just Say
promotional
No
thing.
movement.
Well, and think about it, young dudes, particularly young white dudes, are looking for something to rebel against, right? It's just the way it is. That's why they had James Dean, the rebel without a cause, kind of making fun of the whole. He's a rebel, but he has nothing to rebel against, so he'd find stuff. Well, as young, and that's why I say anytime you see this is a what's in your head public service announcement. If you're walking down a dark alley or under a bridge, maybe fishing in a kayak, and you see some random swastikas or anarchy, no reason to fear, no reason to lock up your kids and hide. There's not a roaming clan group running around your neighborhood. You don't have a roaming clan of anarchists. You have 13-year-old boys with spray paint.
Yeah.
And they're looking for something to rebel against. They don't know what these symbols mean. They just know they're going to piss somebody off. But the irony is, they're so rebellious, they so want to piss people off that they do it in areas which no one's going to see it, such as in an alley, under a bridge, or in a concrete tunnel somewhere. It's like, oh, I'm going to stick it to the man, but I don't want to get caught by the man, so I'm going to do it in this sewer tunnel underneath this bridge.
The most inconspicuous place.
Yeah, the most safest place to be a rebel.
Yeah.
But what was I? Oh yeah. So my point to that is, and I was very guilty of this.
Yeah, rebellion ends at 11 p.m.
I'm not going to be censored by you. I'm not going to let these people tell me what I can listen to. I wouldn't buy the album unless it had, because you had two
Mhm.
albums, same as that cover. The one that didn't have the label meant it was censored. The one that had the label, and so you actually helped kids out by letting them know which one of these two exact CDs was the censored one, and we'd all buy the
Yeah.
one that had the
Mhm.
parent advisory
And
sticker
that
on it.
was
Yep.
it was you were lame if you had the clean version too.
Because your mom bought it for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so pissed.
Mom read the
I
back
ac-
with the lyrics on it.
I accidentally bought a clean Two Live Crew cassette. Oh my gosh, I was so fucking mad.
No, I've used this analogy on the guys who put the bullhorn under. This was a fad about 7 years ago. Kids would put bullhorns underneath their hood and listen to hip hop, but the bullhorn was nothing but
Oh,
trouble because
hmm
it's like an ice cream truck.
It's still a thing.
And I would,
They go down the boulevard all the time. It's not hoopties anymore. It's all lifted trucks with
yeah, and
lights underneath them.
and it's not like they're
Yeah,
compensating because they got two 15s behind their seat. No,
right,
there's no subwoofers. It's just
right.
like playing an ice cream. But I used to
Hmm.
joke that's like playing rap in a system with no bass is like playing bluegrass music through a computer that removes the banjo. What's the
Right,
point?
right.
And so
Yep.
yeah, I've done lost my train of thought again. Choo choo. Okay, so Morgan had his right Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Mike, what's something? Pick a genre.
Rock.
Pick an album that you were listening to, and let me know what year you would have been in middle school because that's when most dudes find music, right? That's when you start listening to your own music, right? You're not
Not me. I
really?
was different. Yeah, I was different because I was a musician. I
You're
was
still
learning
different.
I was yeah. um I was learning to play the drums. So, and my brother is 8 years older than me. My sister's 7 years older than me. My
Sure.
cousins are 5 and 6 years older than I am. So and they all listen to different shit. So it's hard to
I
it's
was the
hard.
same way in
I
elementary
honestly
school, but you
I
still had to
started
rely on your
listening.
parents to get your albums for you in
Yeah,
elementary. Middle school, when you kind of got some money and had them drop you off the mall and you kind of buy your own stuff.
yeah. Music honestly for me became such a thing to latch onto
Hmm.
because of my the way that I was raised and stuff. It was the only constant thing that I had in my life, you know, regularly that I could hold on to. But yeah, I mean, at the time, I think I was in middle school in, let's see,
2020.
oh 05, oh 06, and oh 07.
I remember those good years. I remember those
Yeah,
years. I just moved down here.
yeah.
So name a album you're listening to. I'll see if,
At that time,
or yeah, maybe it's something that you would consider. Hey, this is something my older brother or someone listened to. But this is good shit. Obviously, something that for the purpose of this, not something. Oh, this came out
I'll
yesterday. But
say,
what was an album that was handed down to you that you heard that you think possibly could have came out in '89?
fuck, um, that's really hard.
Here's another one just popped out. I was actually
In the rock category,
sure.
um, fuck, man, I don't know. I have to think about that for a second.
Here's another song that I was listening to the Natural Born Killer soundtrack because I also listened to the Lost Highway soundtrack. And this song was actually on the Natural Born Killer soundtrack, but it was pulled off this original album. I wasn't aware that Jane's Addiction's Nothing Shocking came out in '89. I know my brother was listening to that in '94, '95. He had the poster. That's another album that I wouldn't have thought would have been technically an '80s band. When you say Jane's Addiction, that's got '90s all over it.
Yeah,
So that's a little surprising that Nothing Shocking came out in '89.
1989 rock music.
Do you got one while he's
Because
thinking rock
because
music?
honestly, what I think of when I think of 80s is obviously like hair metal and
Exactly, which is why this is
early grunge
okay.
and some
Go
late
go go down that route.
punk.
Go down that
So
route.
all right, so probably Nirvana.
Which album?
Probably Nevermind.
Nope. Nevermind came out in '93 with Don't Smell Like. What album came out before Nevermind?
Well, something that I would at the time when I was, listening to it, I probably would have thought it would have came out in the late 80s, was Nevermind, but before that was wasn't Bleach, was it?
Yep, exact. Bleach came
Was
out
it
in
Bleach?
1989. And
Okay, there
see,
you go.
and that's where it gets a little confusing for young cats, right? Because
And
Smells
that's
Like Teen
weird because that's grunge.
and yeah, and grunge once again is '90s. But I guess you got
Right.
to have your start in the late '80s.
Right.
And where that gets confusing is you're introduced to Nirvana, depending on where you live. If you're not in a college town, you probably heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit." You like the Nevermind, and so then you go back looking for albums, and then you find Bleach. Bleach usually is someone's follow-up album, and depending on how late in the career of Nirvana. But
Right.
if you discover them when Nevermind came out, the only other option would be Bleach.
I
So
got one.
okay,
Fucking Green Day.
nope.
They're not on the list at all.
Not for 1989. Why don't you Google what year Green Day
Damn it.
Dookie? No, what's their? Well, Dookie came out in '94.
No, I
What
thought
was the
I thought
the
Dookie
early
came
album?
out in the 80s.
No, they had an album that had a white background and just a green like comic book style font. That may have been '80s, but Dookie came out when I was in like eighth, ninth grade. 90
87 and 93. Lookout. No, Kerplunk. Was it Kerplunk? Damn it.
While he's looking that up, Morgan, give me another album from the rock category.
Um, I'm thinking it's got to be something Metallica.
Okay,
Maybe uh oh man, the
take your
one with
first
like
instinct and don't go with
Oh,
it.
the graveyard
No,
cover.
that's Master of Puppets. Don't go with it.
Okay.
no.
I wasn't much of a rock guy, so I'm just trying to think of what was out there. Rock.
Metallica fans going to kill me because I haven't really. I was in Metallica in elementary school and middle school. What can
So
what
so no, Green Day did not have an album come out in the 80s, apparently, according to their Wikipedia page.
Master of Puppets? What came out first? Master of Puppets. Well, I know the answer to this. Think of another album. Think of their biggest video on MTV.
well, that would have
The
had to have
one that
been
every second grader learns the drum beat to play with hands. The first drum beat anybody learns how to play. The breakdown of this song.
well, it's got to be
Mike, you're a drummer. You know what breakdown I'm talking about? Every kid learns how to play the breakdown of this Metallica song on a tabletop in school.
Uh,
um
I don't know. I
oh,
wasn't big into Metallica, to be honest with you.
Enter Sandman.
Nope. Metallica 1. Darkness, imprisoned
Oh,
in me.
okay.
All that I see. Absolute horror. I cannot live. I cannot die. I cannot myself. I'm not holy.
Yeah.
That's all you'd hear of that song without kids just playing down. So yes, Injustice for All came out in 1989. There's a lot of albums that came out.
Actually, so you may want to fact check that because it was apparently released August 25th of 1988.
What's that?
And
Injustice for All?
Yep.
Okay, so our friend well, this list could
According to Wikipedia, And Justice for All was released on August 25th, 1988 by Elektra Records.
interesting. See if it was ever re-released under a different record label.
Let's see.
Kind of like Great Malenko and the Insane Clown Posse.
Let's see. Release.
You guys hear that? That's my kid talking on the speakerphone.
I don't hear anything.
So just to wrap this up, Living Colors, first album Vivid came out. Guns N' Roses, GNR Lies came out. Faith No More's Real Thing came out. That's one that had oh, you want it all it's it. What is it? Yep. Ministries and Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste. That's another album I was listening to in the 90s, around 95,
Okay.
96.
So one of the singles off of And Justice for All was released January 10th of 89.
Interesting. So that
and
must
that
have been
was
when it
one.
start. That must have been when it started getting radio play.
Right.
Gotcha.
So it probably so their list is probably like when it started to really chart,
Yeah.
on the
Stone
Billboard list.
Roses, Skid Row, Soundgarden put out Louder Than Love in 1989.
Wow, that album is also 65 minutes. That's a long one.
Yep. Pixies put out their album Doolittle in 89. Let's just jump down to hip hop. Give me an album there, Morgan.
Um, let's see. It wasn't Vanilla Ice yet. It was
In 89?
maybe nah. Vanilla Ice was like 91,
Was he?
90 or 91. Yeah.
He may have been on the cusp.
Um, Probably something Eric B and Rakim. Um,
Nailed it. Eric B. and Lakim. What's the album name?
um, is
The
it
irony is like the people
Eric?
watching this video for the first time out of the three of us, the one with the most curved cap and the Oregon Ducks backdrop is the guy who knows all the 1989 fucking rap
Oh,
Rap
albums.
music.
is it Eric B is president?
Nope.
Damn.
Um,
Strike one.
yeah, I don't
First
know. I'm
first word
drawing.
starts with an L. First word's
Uh,
let.
yeah,
Let the
I'm
rhythm hit
drawing.
them.
Oh, okay. And then there was probably some goofy shit like maybe Kid and Play or something like
Nope, no
that.
kid and play in 89.
Um,
For hip hop.
And rap. Here's another one. Um, my generation was introduced to the Beastie Boys with License to Ill, which did not come out in 89. And then their follow-up album was considered a commercial flop. And then Check Your Head came out, which blew up in the 90s amongst definitely in the skate community and more in the punk rock new kind of era of rap. And so then we all went back looking at their back catalog. Paul's Boutique, which in my humble
oh
opinion is
yeah,
their best album, hands down,
absolutely.
came out in 1989. So in my BC Boys chart, I'm a Paul's Boutique, Check Your Head, License to Ill, Ill Communication, and then nothing else exists. I, I, Hello Nasty. I just said nope. I just, I, in my mind, I know every word to every Beastie Boys song on those four albums. After that, I got off. I was like, nope. I completely just lost. I became allergic to them at that point. I was so over all their shit by then, like all the new stuff. I was just over it. Didn't
what
even
was
want to hear it.
what was the one that came out before License to Ill?
License to
Um,
Ill.
yeah, there was one before that.
Well, they were a
Um,
punk band early on.
yeah, but they actually had a couple of releases off of it that were almost more like
Run DM, LL Cool J
uh,
and Run DMC.
well, no, this was actually more like a metal.
Okay,
They
so
had a
that came out later. That was a repress of all their early stuff, including Egg Raid on Mojo and I Am the Eggman. That was oh shit. That was a good album too. Oh, that came out right around when they started making when they did Check Your Head and then before Ill Communication, they start putting out remix with Bismarcky of Get It Together, and they put out a couple other, and then they came out with that, and it was a what the fuck was that? My Gordon was here, he would know, and I don't want to cheat and Google it. Because that's where you learn that BC Boys stand for Beast Boys Entering Antarctic State, something else.
I think even
What was that
back
called? Go ahead and Google it.
what's that?
The BC Boys punk album that came out. It was a repress of all their early stuff. It came out in between um, Check Your Head, No Communications. Just type in Beastie Boys albums and go to the 90s, and I'll tell you what it is when you start naming them off. It's in between Check Your
I
Head
don't
and Ill
know if
Communication.
I don't know if I can pronounce it. Is it Aglio e Olio?
No, that's later.
Uh, some old bullshit.
Same old bullshit. I think it may have been it.
Uh, yeah,
Yeah, I think that was it.
So
some old bullshit.
Yeah, some old bullshit. That
19
was it.
says 1994.
Yeah, it was a reprint of all their yeah, the one with the dog on it. Yep, that was their punk
Damn.
album.
Somebody's
okay.
selling that fucking CD for $46 on eBay.
Have either of you ever seen Crush Groove, the old hip
Yeah,
hop movie?
vaguely. Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a 90-minute commercial for Def Jam Records.
Yeah.
It was something else.
So just to wrap it up, let's see. BC Boy 89, Biz Markie, The Biz Never Sleeps.
I'd say even NWA,
Yes, what album?
straight out of Compton,
Yep, 1989, straight out Compton.
because that rap really blew up. I don't think it got as popular, I don't think rap was as popular in the 80s as it was in the 90s, and I don't think that album was as popular in the 80s as it was in the 90s.
And
Like
well, that's because
when it was released.
rap was really in its early infancy,
It
right?
was
You
yeah.
had the Sugar Hill Gang, you had a lot of that. Hi, my name is, and that's where kind
Well,
of it
that's
came
but
cliche. My name is Steve, and I'm early
well
karaoke
you're
style
yeah,
rap.
Well, that
you're
was,
talking
but
70s,
Hmm.
yeah,
like
yeah,
MC type of rap.
Yep.
yeah. Oh no, but it was huge in the 80s. I mean, you had
Name a female rapper from the 80s.
Salt and pepper.
Roxanne Shante.
No, think of LL Cool J and that whole Def Jam.
Well, I mean, there was Queen Latifah and
Yes,
Moni
Queen Latifah,
Love
All
and
Hail the Queen came
In
out in
the 80s,
1989.
yeah.
really?
Oh
1989,
yeah.
Queen Latifah.
I always thought she was a 90s chick.
Nope. She went from rap into more women's R&B in the 90s
Yeah,
and 2000s.
yeah,
That's when she was more of a I guess a B girl if you would. She
yeah.
transitioned from being a B girl into what was the phrase they'd called Mariah Carey a diva. That's when she kind of went into the diva era and started acting more. Jungle Brothers, not familiar with.
Okay, that's a good band. Couple of good albums. Did some stuff with Tribe Called Quest and
That was
De
the
La
year
Soul.
Done by the Force of Nature came in. Out.
Okay.
Ice-T, The Iceberg, Freedom of Speech came out. And then Boogie Down Productions, Ghetto Music, The Blueprint of Hip Hop, which is interesting that they would come out with an album with that name in 1989 when it was still being organized. Now, when people talk 80s music, this is what they're thinking of pop and mainstream. I was so turned off by this. So I'm not even gonna make you guys guess. If you guys want to know what my contemporaries were listening to and why I got made fun of in elementary school, because they were listening to this while I was listening to the aforementioned stuff. They were listening to the Bangles came out that year. Everything, Walk Like an Egyptian.
Although Susanna
Mm.
Hoffs was smoking hot.
Debbie Gibson's Electric Youth came out that year. That's what my sister was rocking. Fine Young Cannibals, which is more up my parents' speed.
They only had one good song, really, though.
You drive
Yeah,
me crazy.
That's the one.
No
I
one.
think they
That's the only fucking one.
I think they had three or four though.
Did they?
You know, three
That's
or
the only
four
one I
chart
know.
hits. Yeah.
Not to be gross or not to be slanderous, but was Fine Young Cannibals like an early era gay band? Was that more their speed?
Was he
Was that their
gay?
like demographic?
I
I'm
thought
not
he
saying
was
he was
like
gay, but that may have been more the demographic, stuff you'd hear in that type of gay bar or just in that community. It just seems like that would be more up their
it's
genre.
definitely a lot more upbeat and dancey, which I think is more aimed towards the gay community.
The group kids now wouldn't understand this because when you go to concerts, especially the Britney Spears, the Christina Aguilera's, anything that's well, not Christina, she sings, but anything that's got a choreography heavy dance routine, it is accepted that they're going to lip sync. Or if you're Chris Jericho playing at the Buddha, you're going to
Oh,
lip sync.
um,
Before you say it, let's see if Mike
Bill.
knows. Well,
Uh,
yes, that's right. Chris
I didn't.
Jericho Fozzy was lip syncing at the Buddha when it came into town. You could tell. Mike, what band was the first major band to get dropped from their label, discredited, hated by the media, and basically banished from the industry to the point where one of them killed himself after it came out that not only were they lip syncing, that they didn't even sing the tracks in the recording studio. They were basically they were role playing. They were
And
hired to be the face of this group, but they didn't
an
actually
80s
sing the
band?
song. Yep. Their album came out in '89. This was a scandal.
I feel like I should know this too.
Everybody should know this.
I think my dad might have told me this at one point, but I don't know.
They were in 89 to 90 before this news, they were like the biggest thing in bubblegum pop music, right up there with Paul Abdul, right up there. Milli Vanilli.
Oh,
Okay,
you
yeah.
you took it. You broke my heart.
Girl, you know it's true. So not
Blame
all
it on the rain.
they didn't even it's not like they were lip syncing because they were dancing. They never sang the song. Two other dudes recorded the song and they were hired as the face. Kind of like well, I was going to say kind of like the Monkees, but the Monkees actually sang their own shit. Their songs were fake. It was for a
Mhm.
TV show, but they actually sang their own songs. So you can't.
Well, there was another one. I think it was CNC Music Factory. You
Were
look at
they
the
lip syncing?
video. Well, there was the female singer in it was so in the
I
videos it was all like this skinny hot chick, but it was but it was but it was actually I can't remember her name, but she was from a late 70s disco band called the Weather Girls.
wow. So it'd be like you
And they
having
were
that'd be
but
like
it
you
was
having Debbie Gibson lip syncing and pretending to be Janis Joplin because Janis Joplin was ugly and Debbie Gibson was cute.
yeah, exactly. And that's what it was. This girl was not um
She had a
what
face
you
for
would
radio,
call
but not a face for MTV, so they couldn't use her.
yeah, yeah, but she could sing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. But yeah,
So
so they got busted for that.
89, this is everything your sister was listening to. The Bangles, Debbie Gibson, Fine Young Cannibals, well, that's what your mom was listening to. Madonna's, your sister, and if your mom was a little, didn't go to church, was on the slutty side, she was listening to Madonna. If she was going to parent teacher conferences and school board meetings and church, she
Was that
was
like a
anti-Madonna.
prayer?
Like a Prayer came out. Milli Vanilli, New Kids on the Block. Definitely every girl had their t-shirts, hanging tough.
Donnie Wahlberg.
Paula Abdul.
That I still love to this day.
This
I
single
would
came
Paula?
out.
Paula Abdul, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd crawl across a million miles of broken glass for Paula Abdul.
Oh
This
my God.
this single came out in '89, was probably considered one of this. This guy was a huge megastar, had a secret talent for being an exquisite guitar player, but his music wasn't conducive to it. So you would never. His music was more poppy. He played guitar. He put out a soundtrack song in 1989, which is considered one of his worst offerings ever. You have any idea, Morgan? Dude probably is
So
about
it's
5'2".
Lenny Kravitz.
a
Close.
guitar player. I don't know.
His guitar playing skills were so great, but so not conducive to his music that most people wouldn't consider him a guitar player, even though he had a guitar shaped like the symbol that he changed his name to.
Oh, Prince?
Prince put out the song Batman. It was for the Batman soundtrack,
Oh,
and
that
it
was
is the most
tragic.
worst,
Oh, it was
horrible
awful.
piece of shit. I think in music, it's the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes of songs when it comes to how bad
Oh
it was.
yeah.
I might have to turn this on for a second and listen to
Yeah,
it.
turn it
I've
on.
never heard of it.
Oh yeah. No, Bat Dance was the worst thing ever.
It's called Bat
This is called
Dance.
Batman, but he also did the Bat Dance. Well, it says Batman. It could have missed. It could have been Bat Dance.
It was a whole album by
Oh,
him.
was it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the whole
Bat
soundtrack
Dance.
for the movie,
Oh,
basically.
so
And
Bat
on Spotify it has 11 million plays.
Bat Dance. Yeah, it was horrible. On the I doubt it'll
let's
bleed
see.
over.
No, it won't bleed over.
Yeah, and Richard Marx, repeat offender.
He actually had a couple of decent songs back in the day.
Miles Davis, Aurora came out in '89, and jazz.
Yeah,
Here's
see, I told you. I told you.
here's a name. I wouldn't consider this electric new wave or dance.
Oh God, that's so
Isn't that
bad.
bad? Isn't that the worst thing you've ever heard? That's
Oh
worse.
gosh, it's
Batman.
What's worse, that song or the Tom McDonald song featuring Roseanne? Which one's worse?
I'd rather listen to that.
Yeah,
I'd rather listen to
I
that.
love me
I
some
don't
Tom
know.
That
McDonald.
fucking that
They're
Rosie
both
O'Donnell
offensive.
mashup thing was fucking weird with the
I
cornrows and stuff.
I'm a fan
Nah,
of Tom McDonald with that Roseanne song and the one he did with Ben Shapiro were both complete garbage. They're bo-
fucking whack.
yeah, those are straight skip. I wanted to get off this topic, but here's a group, Morgan, that I would have considered pop or R&B, but not new wave or dance. De La Soul.
Yeah, see, I would have considered that hip hop.
They're under electronic new wave dance. De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising came out in '89.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that
And here's
categorization.
another one you're not going to agree with either. Nina Cherry.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would consider that probably. I'd probably consider that like electronic.
Now that's interesting
I
though.
would I would for Technotronic, which was listed, but for Pump Up the Jam. But
Pump up the
Nia
jam.
Cherry, I wouldn't consider. I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of
Now
Eagle Eye Cherry, her brother.
here's interesting because you said De La Soul. Uh, their top track
Me, Myself, and I.
is the Gorillaz song because
Huh?
they were the featured artist on Feel Good Inc.
Which song? Oh, that's the second
Feel
album.
Good Inc.
That's the second album. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, feel good. That
Mm,
whole song. That's
yep.
got 2 billion plays on Spotify, and that's their top song. It doesn't their top four songs after that don't even come anywhere close to that. It eclipses them like three times.
Well, because we haven't hard out, I'm going to fast forward to the next topic, but this will be a good transition. That doesn't surprise me because on Saturday I had to drop my daughter's car off, and her and her boyfriend picked me up, and he was listening to the Gorillas, and he's from
Okay.
Brazil, and he looked kind of shocked when Clint Eastwood came on, and I knew every word. But he wasn't just listening to that album. He had like the whole playlist, and he was listening to their new stuff. And so the Gorillas definitely still have a following amongst the 20-year-olds.
Okay.
So um we'll say this one for last. Does this make me a bad dad?
Yes.
If you got to ask, probably.
Someone's reply to my TikTok video would insinuate that I was, but this falls under proving a point and tough love. We got my daughter a car. We've talked about this in the past.
Sure.
Bought her a car, put it on our insurance, paid for the tags. Only caveat being is go to school, get a job, pay for your insurance, pay for your gas. Year goes by, barely going to school, didn't have a job. I was paying her insurance, paying her gas, paying her parking for the beach. Her and her friends were just doing as any 16, 17-year-old would, driving his car over God's green earth. But the only difference is I had a job to pay for my gas, my insurance before I drove all over God's green earth. Something happened to the car. She had a pothole. Something happened where the front driver's side, passenger side tire was wearing unevenly on the inside. So I told her, hey, I'm not fixing it. Because I knew that if I fixed it under the, I'll pay you back, there's no reason for her to pay me back, right?
Sure.
Once again, now she's driving, I'm paying for the gas and everything else. So I didn't pay for it. It sat in her driveway for 6 months. But hey, she got a job. Second check, the first real big check, she gave me the whole thing. Used this toward fixing my car. So I went to take her car to the shop on Saturday. And so first thing I do is jump the battery, not a problem. Pull the thing in, and obviously I don't want to drive 18 miles on a tire with a broken belt, and you can see the brown on the inside. So I jacked it up and loosened 3 of the lugs, and the fourth lug wouldn't loosen. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just snap it off, and they can replace it. It's not hard. You just pull the hub off and Put a new, snapped it off. Went to loosen the third one, the last one. It started loosening, then it got froze. I was like, shit. Put some WD-40 on it, backed it in. Got I don't have a pneumatic one because I don't have an air compressor to push one, but I have an electric impact, and it wouldn't even get it off. Blam, blam, blam. And it's right next to the other one, which already snapped off. So I didn't want to snap off two lugs that were right next to each other and have three lugs holding this tire on. So I did what any self-respecting white trash Kentucky boy would do. I filled those tires up, put the jack and the breaker bar in the truck, and I said, fuck it, I'll send it. So I hopped in and I drove it from my house pretty much to Fort Myers Beach, damn near, on the corner of Summerlin and McGregor. On a, I will say, you got that boy up to 45, and that belt felt right in there, and it just drove nice and smooth. 35 was a little bumpy, but 40, and that, and I figured if it popped, I could call roadside assistance. Roadside assistance is your insurance company picking your car up off the side of the road, towing it somewhere, but they're not going to pick it up from your house because you're not in danger. Your car is safely at home. That's a you problem. So I figured, if it pops, I'll just snap off the other lug, put the thing on, and drive the rest away, or I would call roadside assistance, but I didn't need to. But the whole point of this video, I did a video on, this was the first time since I got my Tacoma in 2015 that I got the exhilaration of driving a car that you weren't quite sure if you were going to get to your final destination. Because growing up poor, every car that my mom had and every car that I had, my first truck was my brother's hand-me-down that I got. My dad got from my brother. My brother crashed it, ragged it out, blew up the clutch. My dad took it, pulled a pontoon boat, was way too big to pull it, burnt the clutch up in it, got it fixed, gave it to me. This thing was just a beat-up shell of a truck. Ended up throwing a rod right before I got rid of it. But you never knew. Clutch could go out, starter could go bad. My brother had a Dodge Omni. The protocol was to park it backwards on a slope because the starter didn't work. We just put it in second and pop it and run it. Just got to make sure you always park it on a hill. But in Kentucky and Ohio, that wasn't too much of a request. Even when I moved down here, I got rid of my 1987 Ford Escort LX. Ooh, premium. Had a Mazda engine in it. Got rid of it because my dad sold me his 96 Pontiac Firebird that he bought when I was a junior in high school. And even that by 2001, this thing had a phantom electrical problem, and I got pulled over so many times from a brake lights not working, but the very next day they worked. Called a place, they wanted $90 an hour just to diagnose it and figure out what the problem was. I had it die a couple of times in front of customers' houses. I had to have it towed out of there. So I always had the exhilaration. Will I make it to where I'm going? Got it. Traded it for that 2005 Chevy Colorado. That thing was a turd. You had to put it in neutral when you're idling or it would shut off. I had that thing break down in front of me. So up until I worked at Stan & Haney and got my first Tacoma, I've never had a vehicle that I was 100% sure. But at the time, that was just life, right? But after a good 7-8 year run of having cars that get me to where I need to go, it's been a while since I've had the opportunity to ride in a car that in the back of your mind you're playing, will I make it? And so I did. That was the context of the video. But someone said if that was my daughter, I would have gotten out my toolbox. Her car wouldn't have sat for that long. Of course, I didn't go into the fact I'm teaching a lesson, but that's my question. Are people afraid to do the tough love thing?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Because it definitely, I wouldn't say it's cheaper, because now that she got a job, there's been like 3 or 4 times I've had to pay an Uber $20 a run. But it's like, how else is... And the other thing is, you don't appreciate things that you don't have a skin in the game for. We would see that all the time in the radio station. People get shit for free, and not only they didn't appreciate it, they expected more. And here's a perfect story, because it won't matter because Beasleys are selling all their stuff and they're long gone anyhow. A guy won a radio station giveaway. It was like a 2-day. It was like to one of those weekend rock concerts, like the 2-day events. Not here in Fort Myers, but like in Orlando or up in the Panhandle. The station gave them 2 tickets. Well, technically 4. You and your wife for 2 days, and a hotel room. And I think they even went as far as a bundle deal. You got like a free dinner at some restaurant. So you got basically a weekend away. Tickets, hotel room, dinner for one night. So the show's on Friday. After the show, you go get some food, or before the show, get some food, go to your hotel, go Saturday, then drive home. Guy won.
I think we've talked about those.
You guys aren't paying for my gas.
Yeah.
Yep.
He won these tickets 2-3 months in advance because that's how the promotion works. He called almost daily to harass dumb Chris, otherwise known as DC, my program director, to try to get him a gas card from the radio station because he couldn't afford. It's like, it's not like you're walking down the street and you called and entered a contest.
You made a conscious effort to win this setup, and you knew what you were doing.
You're basically getting an already paid expenses trip paid, with the exception of gas and a car.
Yeah.
You get there, we're getting you in the show, we're giving you some food, and we're giving you a place to crash so you can go to the show the very next day. And he was pissed, and it turned into a thing. And whenever you have things like that, then it's just that's when those disclaimers get longer and faster than each promo. Just like Stan Haney always tell the story with the guy who won the Harley Davidson. No, it wasn't Harley Davidson. The Beasleys were giving away a shed and like a riding lawnmower. It was like some, hardware store giveaway. It was like a bundle of a shed. I think they actually paid some out to put the concrete slab down. Or right. It was something along those lines. And the guy basically was shocked to find he had to pay the taxes on it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the shit's free, but someone has to pay the taxes. Just like whenever you see someone doing a promotion, like, we're in a partnership with this company that makes these $5,000 office chairs. And the company gives that person that $5,000 office chair, that person has to pay the tax because it's considered a payment. And so you get that chair or a mattress, you have to pay the taxes on it.
I think is the same thing with like game shows like Wheel of Fortune and stuff that. If you win the car, you get a $25,000 car for free, but you're going to pay tax, tag, and title, and probably a delivery fee.
You know what I didn't know, which is cool about that? You won the car, but you actually won a car of that value. So let's say you didn't like the 1989 Ford Escort, or maybe you had a little extra money in your bank. Well, let's just say the blue book cost of that Ford Escort you won on Price is Right in 1978 was $5,700, and you had an extra $3,000. You basically could buy a different car, and they would just comp you the $5,700. And so it's not like you drove off the lot in that Ford. You could call your local, if you lived in Iowa or some shit, you're not going to drive back from LA in a 1989 Ford Escort, even brand new, you probably wouldn't get there. It would overheat driving over the Badlands or over the Grapevine. So you would just get the car of that value from that dealer.
Yeah, people assume that, if you enter a contest or something like that, you're just here you go.
But the point being is by making her pay the money to fix the car that she already gotten for free.
Right.
Now you have a little bit of investment in it, and you'll maybe try a little harder to take better care of it, right?
Yeah, it's no different.
Maybe miss the curb.
Yeah. It's kind of like the difference between the poor kid who worked lawn care and bought him that beater car versus the rich girl at school who got the Pontiac Sunfire and she ragged the shit out of it. Meanwhile, you're treating your Dodge Omni like it's a Bugatti because you paid for it out of your pocket. And you see that all the time, but it's like, I need to express, and I would tell her, like, you come home from school, you talk about how you don't want to be here, which is fine. That's like the perfect, not only should no teenager want to be home, they shouldn't want to be home. I remember that's why we all wanted a license, right? I remember as soon as I got my car, my goal was to be home nowhere before 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just always gone. It's like, I'm like, you know what? You want freedom. You want to be able to not be here, go to the beach, wherever you have to have a job. A job means freedom. A job in a car is freedom. You already got the car, but now you need the ability to put gas in it, maintain it, pay for your parking and your toll, which I was paying for too.
Mm.
And so I was surprised. I was really expecting that first check to come and, oh, I need to buy X, Y, and Z. So nope, she kept $80 and gave me the rest of it. So I was shocked. So it worked, but it's just finding, oh, I'm a hero. My daughter wouldn't have had to. Yeah, well, your daughter probably A, 16 and B does everything you ask her to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go tough love.
I was talking about that with my sister earlier today too. This whole generation, for the most part, none of them want to leave.
Did you hear that, Morgan?
None of them want to.
He's officially an old man.
I am.
He's
Yeah,
damn kids.
I am.
Hey,
Yeah.
get off
I
my
am.
lawn.
I was
Back
yeah.
in my day,
Yeah, damn right. Back in my day.
Mm-hmm.
Back in my
I wanted
day.
to take my PS5 and get out in the world.
Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass.
My PlayStation 2 got sold. I went to GameStop with my PlayStation 2 because I needed a new battery for my car.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
You
you're
gotta
talking to your
bounce,
sister about
Mike?
your kid. He's got
Okay.
4 minutes. I'm watching the clock. Oh no, you got to go now, huh?
No, I was just talking to her about, how this, like, my son and my nieces and, other people that I have kids, around their ages at this point where they're just none of them ever want to leave.
Mm-mm.
They all sit at home.
Well,
They all do nothing.
but
Why? Like when
I can
we
tell you
when
why.
we were coming up, like all of us collectively, we grew up in 3 different eras, basically.
Yep.
And all of us, as soon as we got the opportunity to leave the house, we were gone.
Yep.
I was never home. I was always at my girlfriend's house or something like
Well,
that,
even from the time I was like 10,
Yeah.
we would, like during the summer, we would leave and not come back. I mean, like literally till the streetlights came on.
Right.
And I was strongly encouraged to not be there.
Yeah, because they locked you out of the house.
Right.
Now, I will say, to be a little bit devil's advocate, and we've talked about this in the past too. Of course, when we were coming up, gas wasn't $3 a gallon.
True.
Car payment wasn't $590 a month on the low end, or
True.
$1,200 on the high end.
True.
And we could go to Wendy's and buy 3 junior bacon cheeseburgers and a Biggie Coke for $4. Now they need another $15. So basically, and if they're not, it's just the cost of everything just makes
but
it.
also think about this. My minimum wage was $7.25 when I started working. Yours was like $4 and some change, I think.
$4.25.
And
Mine
Morgan's was
was
probably 89 cents a week. So, think about that too. Their minimum wage these days, a lot of jobs are hiring for entry-level jobs at 10, 12, 14, $15 an hour now.
And you're absolutely right. Because I was just thinking about, we always think about the price of stuff, but
the cost of
the 3 junior bacon
basic
cheeseburgers after tax would have been about $4.25, which would have been 1 hour
Right.
worth of my work, versus the
go.
$15 McDonald's would be worth. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
There
always
you go.
food cost the bare minimum of an hour of your labor.
But see the lower end of, where the entry level jobs they're coming up, none of our positions, now that we're older and as we were supposed to progress, yeah, maybe we got, to a point where, if you're in the $20 an hour range, between $20 and $30 an hour or something like that. If you're in that range, that's not terrible. I mean, you're probably doing okay for yourself if you make somewhere in that range. But as these entry level jobs have, $10 to $15 an hour, none of our pay increased with that.
Nope, not
It's
at all.
only theirs.
Which is why
So-
I always say, I feel the guy I feel sorry for when it comes to the minimum wage increase is the guy who's been working there for 20 years and made
Yep.
$14 an hour, started out at 6, and
Yep.
now you guys are making $15 an hour for starting yesterday,
Yep.
and he doesn't get a raise.
and he has twice as much experience as you.
Yep. I will say, and this is going to be a controversial statement, the only jobs that pay minimum wage, the actual minimum wage, are jobs that are borderline sketchy.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is if the minimum wage is 4.25 an hour, chances are Wendy's and McDonald's are paying you 7.25 an hour. Wendy's, even today, oh, minimum wage is only $9 an hour. Yeah, but no one pays minimum wage unless it's one of those, either a fly by night operation, a mom and pop, a gas station, something that's borderline
I
getting ready
don't
to go out
know.
of business,
McDonald's paid me minimum wage,
like to the nose.
7.25 an hour. I started out at, yeah,
I
100%.
worked at Dairy Queen, 3.35 an hour, which was the federal minimum wage at the
Yeah.
time.
Because I remember when I moved down here in 2003,
Now I don't think nowadays. I don't think nowadays they do that
because in
because I don't think.
2003, I got a job at CompUSA, and the minimum wage at that time was like $7 an hour, and they were paying their starting wage was like 9. I think all the McDonald's and everybody was at
Yeah.
least $2 or $3 above the minimum wage.
Right.
So
I don't. I mean, I'm not sure that I think nowadays, um, things like that tend to happen. Well, because is our state minimum $15 an hour now?
I doubt it. What is it?
I don't think it is. I think it's like 12.50 or
Yeah.
something like that. But if you go to McDonald's and you go to apply for a job, they will start you out at 14 or $15 an hour. Because I think what they figure is it's
Like
going to happen at
$14
some
an
point
hour.
anyway.
It's set to increase to 15 on September 30th of this year.
Okay. So there you go. So they were already ahead of the curve the last because they told us that this was going to happen, what, 5 or 6 years ago?
Yeah.
So
But
have
guess
at it now,
who?
boys.
But the people who aren't working minimum wage, and you can take their salary and divide it down to an hourly rate, those people won't be getting a bump in their salary. I'll tell you
Well, and
that.
that's why the labor pool is the way that it is too. It
Hold
it
on, my
does it,
people.
it it does it in my trade as well.
Oh yeah.
It does it in my trade as well, where we've got guys that they'll be with us for 6 months, and then they'll leave and they'll go to another company because they can get $1 more,
Yeah.
and then they'll
Yep.
be there for 6 months, and then they'll leave and go and it's just this it's this
And those are
because
usually 20-year-old
because
dudes with a drinking problem.
but even still, like that's how the labor force is now. You don't go to a company and stay there because they offer benefits or anything like that. My generation, unfortunately, doesn't seem to give a shit about that. What
Well,
they
not
care
only
about
that,
is
but
how
there's
much
Well,
money am I
there's
going
no
to make
pension
on the
to be
hour.
had. Once most of these companies have all moved to
Well, no,
401k,
yeah,
and 401ks are
yeah.
transferable.
I
It's
mean benefits,
yeah.
benefits.
Yeah, no, I
yeah.
get it.
Just in
Well,
But to
general.
your
but they
point, once 401k became transferable, you
Right.
lost all reason to stay with one company for 30 years because they don't have a
Correct.
pension. And so you can take
Correct.
your 401k with you. And so it's like,
well,
The only one that would make sense for you to actually stick with it would be like a profit sharing company
yeah.
where
mhm,
they match whatever you put in, and then you see as they do well, you do well, and then as they don't
mhm.
do well, you don't do well.
Yeah, we had profit sharing at the
Mhm.
ambulance plant. I forgot all about that. Those are nice days.
So I actually saw a study that someone had done that said that if you're like more likely to make between 10 and 15% more money from jumping jobs than if you stayed with the same company
Yeah.
for a 30-year career.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
100%.
people who, oh, I've had the same car insurance for 15 years. It's like you realize you save money by moving every 3 years because you get introductory rates.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
It's
three
just,
years, I'm moving
it's
insurance.
that's no different than like satellite radio. They give you a 6 month promotional deal. Once that runs out, the
It's
rate
impossible to cancel.
skyrockets
And
by
it's
like
impossible to cancel.
4 times the amount.
Hmm.
And then you call them, and then they're saying, oh, we don't want to lose your business. And it's an hour-long conversation because they don't want to lose the money. And instead of losing out on the $25 a month or $30 a month subscription, they'd rather at least get $6 to $12 a month from you to continue your service.
And lose
Well,
out
it's
on
crazy.
and $33 worth of labor by having one of their employees on the phone. So you would let me cancel
Yeah.
and got the phone. You spent more in labor than my monthly fee for your service.
The only
Well,
way
I
that you
just-
can get out of that is if you tell them I don't have a vehicle that has satellite anymore. What are you going to say, Morgan?
I just I gotta I don't have it in my Jetta anymore because I stream, you know, I stream the app,
Yeah.
but my wife has it in her Rogue, and we were paying like $30 a month, and she said,
Yeah.
you know, we probably, you know, we probably don't really need it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, I want to keep the app. So
Yeah.
they sent me a promo thing for my Jetta for $3 a month with the app.
Yeah.
So I jump on their website, and they automatically dropped my Rogue from $33 a month to $10 a month
Nice.
without even talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah.
Real quick, because we got to wrap it up because Mike's got a hard out. You know who's really picking up their game? Do you guys watch Roku TV at all?
Oh, all the time.
Have you noticed like they're almost Roku is almost like they are basically taking over, making up for broadcast television. But
Oh, yeah.
they've gotten to the point now they're essentially YouTube for broadcasting. And
See, I would have thought YouTube TV would have taken that over.
well, here's the thing. And it's just happened like last 6 months. They must have got a head of sales. Every day they're advertising a new channel. Now they have like
Oh,
50
yeah.
cents action movie network. Like people with a little bit of money are buying Roku channels like a YouTube channel and just putting shit on it that they paying the license for, putting their brand on it, and then getting the residuals off the commercials. They literally have a 50-cent action movies, but people kind of like YouTube channels now. There's a Mr. Beast channel, and so all these big YouTubers now are just buying channels. And Roku TV probably has 1,000 channels now. It's like every day, check out channel 1999 for Steve Irwin's favorite shoes. I mean, it's just they're really stepping up in the content.
And that's the new
Diddy's baby oil party.
And it's completely free. That's the best part. It ain't one of those, you go to Walmart, you buy the TV with the built-in Roku, and bare minimum, you pay for some internet somehow, and you have a form of entertainment. I've been watching Anthony Bourdain's channel. It's 24 hours of no reservation and parts unknown.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
So I went from watching reruns of shit from the 70s. Now I'm watching early mid 2000s, which is kind of funny because the trend on TikTok now is everybody wishing it was 2016 again. It's like I'm kind of living out with watching Anthony Bourdain.
2016. I wish it was like 2004 again.
Well, there you go. Go watch No Reservations. All that shit was recorded in 2004.
Yeah.
1989.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 1989 again.
Yep. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Mike's got to go. My dog's barking at something. They were chasing squirrels earlier today. But please head over to what'sinyourhead.com. You can find a lot of our old shows and video content. Look for the What's in Your Head channel on YouTube. And you can listen to the show on all your favorite apps. For myself, Mike, and Morgan, we will talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.